What up, dog?
Oh man, I felt like we've been gone for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, how was your Thanksgiving?
Mm.
Enough said.
That's a sore. That's a sore subject, man. I'm just gonna say, man, I didn't have no leftovers. I'll
Enough
just leave
said.
it at that. Yeah.
Yep. Yep, mine was very good. I had some leftovers, but it wasn't about the leftovers. It was about stuff that was supposed to be here that was not here. Uh, Other than that, I'm very happy for my family. I'm very thankful for my family, if you know what I'm saying. But
Same.
yeah, it was stuff was supposed to be here. It's kind of like if you watch Raw and you were like, man, Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins are fighting for the title tonight, title match before the match, and you're like, and then they add Roman Reigns on top of that, and you're like, hey, what the hell is this? What is this? This ain't what I tuned in for. What is this? So that's how I sum up. I had a great time off. Don't get me wrong. I love my family, but there was it. It was fun. I'll leave it at that. This isn't the drama podcast.
We could make it the drama podcast.
We could. It'd be like
we don't want to lose
4 hour long. It'd be a 4 hour. We should turn it into a politics, drama, and religion podcast. It'll be a 7 hour podcast each week.
There you go. Politics included, man. Right now, we just quick before we get into things. We're teaching the oldest what it was like to live in the 90s and the early 2000s with the music. So I introduced her to a little Biggie and Hypnotized, and she wasn't feeling it at all and broke my heart. So I figured, well, maybe she's not a Biggie Smalls kind of girl. Maybe she's a Tupac.
Yeah, you got to take her to the West Coast.
Yeah, I took her to the West Coast, man. I put on that California Love, man, and all I could see was this.
Head was bobbing. Yep.
Yeah, it was bobbing, man. I was like, no, you're supposed to be doing the
the shake. The shake.
the shake side to side.
Yo, you know what would have been great? It would have been great if you played California Love or any like old Dre produced West Coast beat. And she just started sea walking like around the room, but naturally, like she didn't even know what crip walking was. She just started sea walking around your room, like, and you're like, wait a minute, where'd that come from?
Hell yeah, you sea walk better than me. What's going on?
Is it bad that when I used to go to the club when I was in college, I would actually crip walk and sea walk across like the dance floor, and I thought I was pretty legit at it at the time. I probably break my ankle doing it now, but did you ever do it back in the day?
Oh yeah, man. I was big. Oh, I was big in doing it once. Once I got introduced to the West Side Connection.
Yes.
Yes. I heard the intro to the debut album, and then the leading song, the West Side, and then saw the video and what was his name? Mac 10.
Yep.
Yeah, is it Mac 10 or WC? I think it was Mac 10. Yeah, it was Mac 10. Mac 10 was the one who was doing it, and he was like, I was like, yo, I gotta be like that, man. Yeah, let's do it.
You know what, man? It's funny because the first time I ever saw it, I was watching same thing. It was like you remember the Up in Smoke tours they used to have back in the day?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And it was, I think it was Dub C who was wearing like a hoodie or whatever, some baggy jeans back then. And he started like going side to side, and I was like, whoa, what is that dance? And then Ice Cube and Mac 10 came out, and all three of them were just doing like what I thought at the time was just like, man, that's a shuffle dance. What are they doing? But I mean, those dudes weren't dancing because they were like gangsters back then. So they started shuffling, and I'm like, yo, that dance is hot. And then I looked into it and saw real Crips doing it and was like, wait a minute, you're supposed to spell something out with your feet? I gotta get on this.
That talent, son. That talent. Real
Yeah.
gangsters dance.
You know, if I see you tomorrow, I'm gonna crip walk, right?
You know?
Just
I,
watch.
I just hope we don't get fired, man.
Dude, they ain't gonna fire nobody will fire anybody in this world if they know you're a crip. It's not a dance to me. I'll be like, this ain't a dance. It's a lifestyle, and I'm gonna wear all blue to work.
That's it, man. I'll bring the khaki pants, right? And maybe the suspenders.
Yeah, I'm going all out. Going all out.
That's it, man.
Dude, we
Oh,
had a busy. So I know we skipped Thanksgiving, and for those of y'all who did listen, appreciate you listening. Hopefully, you got to listen to the interview, awesome interview we had with Everett O'Brien last week that we posted. That was part one. We got another really interesting interview that we're actually going to be recording here soon. We're actually one of our goals is to record and do a lot of indie talent interviews with folks that we feel are future talent in NXT and the WWE, of course. So shout outs to Everett O'Brien. If you got to listen to that, awesome listen. Really cool personality, different. So it wasn't necessarily, at least Sage chime in, it wasn't somebody that was over promoting or just trying to really promote themselves, but to really give some good insight on what the indie scene is these days, especially since, you look at the indie scene and you have ROH, CZW, and all these things that feed into NXT at some point, but it was true, or well, local indie that maybe will eventually, hopefully, lead into NXT and all that stuff. So if you get a chance, go back and listen to it. Awesome interview. We'll have part 2 coming up soon. But on that note, we have a lot to cover. You want to start on the Survivor Series? We should start on the Survivor Series.
yeah, we should start on the Survivor Series, man. So, like, right out of the gate, what did you think about the way that it ended?
So I watched it, and I remember, and I'm in Texas, so I think it was 8 o'clock or maybe 9 o'clock when the Brock Lesnar match started.
Yeah,
And I thought, yo, I don't want to see an hour of this match. It might have been 9:15. Either which way, pay-per-views normally end at 9:45, 10 o'clock Texas time, Central time. And I thought, I don't want to see an hour of this match. These entrances better be 30 minutes long because I don't want to see these guys fight for an hour. It was 2 minutes. It was less than 2 minutes. It was a squash. And I watched it with you, Sage the Mark, and Dabi Amore, actually, for those of y'all who have listened and who are going to be listening to the upcoming UFC mic battle that we're fixing to have here in a couple weeks. But
go road to God versus Dabi Amore.
I liked it, man. It was one of those. It reminded me, even though wrestling is entertainment, but it reminded me of a real fight, like a UFC fight. So Conor McGregor knocked out Jose Aldo in 13 seconds. If they fought again, that fight would last way more than 13 seconds, but it was one of those shock losses, and it brought to me that shock factor. When you see it, you think like, whoa, wait a minute, this just happened. And I think that you see that in the UFC and in boxing, and there's always, like in UFC, I hate to bring up UFC specifically because we also talk about it on this podcast, but I loved it, man. You have some great matchups and great fights, and somebody could get knocked out. A fight could be finished in 2 minutes. So I like that they started the fight with 30 to 45 minutes left of the pay-per-view, but it's on the network, so they could end that shit whenever they want. And I liked that they pulled off the shock because now, going into the future, any big matches, I'll definitely think like, and it's great now that they're on the network because they can do this. You'll think like, wait, this match could end at any moment. And me personally, I've got a great habit of once a match starts, I may go grab a beer or a bite to eat or go do something real quick because I know, all right, this is going to be a 45-minute match. I'm not going to miss anything if I miss it. So I loved it. I'm sorry to rant. I'm sorry to keep going on. What did you think?
I thought pretty much the same thing. I was like, my jaw was dropped during the entire match. I marked out through the whole minute and 26 seconds that match actually happened. And I have to give kudos to Lesnar, man. He sold the bully aspect so well. He went in there overconfident, pushed Goldberg like he was nothing to try to show his dominance, then got pushed back. And then and this is the attention to detail here, and I loved it. And kudos to both of them for doing this. But when Lesnar got up, he got up with his back facing Goldberg. So that when he turned around, Goldberg was already in the stance. And then Spirito, it was like, it was perfect. It was timed perfectly, and I absolutely loved it. And I look forward to where it's going to go, because we know that this isn't going to be the end. You know, Brock Lesnar is going to collect himself and then hopefully come back and be more aggressive when they meet, which is probably going to be at WrestleMania.
So does it matter though if they're going to meet? Because I mean, it's 2-0 Goldberg. So what is it? Yes, they're going to have a rematch, but what does it matter? It's not a rubber match. It's not 1-1. What does it matter?
It's not a rubber match, and it's not 1-1. But what I think we're going to finally see is like a beatdown, that's what we want to see. We want to see a beatdown, and it's eventually going to come. And I think that if the longer the time is in between the match, the better it is, because it'll give Goldberg the opportunity to get his cardio in shape. Because you could tell after that first spear, he was kind of gassed.
Yeah.
And but it still looked great. And his jackhammer, like, he's got to get those legs up in strength, man. Because those legs look like spaghetti. To be honest with you, man, I thought he was going to drop Brock Lesnar on his head. He definitely didn't have the leg strength to keep him up for very long. So I definitely would like to see it to go a little bit longer. I want it to be a little bit more physical. I think it can, as long as Goldberg can get into wrestling shape.
Yeah, I agree. The main event was awesome. So can I tell you something? One thing I like about Survivor Series is that the matches don't matter. So if you lose a Survivor Series match, or you're eliminated, from a Survivor Series match, to me, it doesn't matter, because that doesn't mean that if you're the world champion, it doesn't mean that you're getting pushed or not pushed or anything like that. But when you win, I think that you deserve it gives you some credibility. Like, to me, if you win the Survivor Series match or you're one of the survivors, it means you're getting some cred. You're getting a little bit of a push. So it means a lot when guys that aren't Roman Reigns win it. Like a couple years ago, Dolph Ziggler, when Sting debuted, and Dolph Ziggler went over Seth Rollins at the time. I thought that was big. And then Dolph went on a little mini push. But it's stuff like that. Like, I hope they keep the SmackDown versus Raw format. So at least every year we have a SmackDown versus Raw thing going on. And it's, like we've talked about on previous podcasts, it's an escape from the individual shows and their agendas for a little bit. But it's the easiest feud you could have, right? Like, here's SmackDown, my show's better. Here's Raw, my show's better. Okay, you're on different shows. Just go argue with each other about it. And you have these unique matchups. So I thought that it also really solidified that the Wyatts are together. Randy Orton's a Wyatt.
Yeah, and I like that as well. I absolutely, going into the men's elimination match, I absolutely love the fact that the Wyatts actually got the win. Like, that, I think that was more important for Bray Wyatt's career than anything else. Considering that his win-loss ratio is below 500 when it comes to pay-per-views. So it was definitely good to see that. That was probably, I want to say that's probably my favorite match of the night, if I can recall it correctly. I loved how Braun Strowman got eliminated by Ellsworth.
Oh, yeah.
That was a genius. It was, well, and honestly, like, I forgot about Ellsworth being around. So that kudos to the booking on that, because we didn't really need a heavy emphasis on Ellsworth, but we needed something that would be impactful, and they did it. And then he got destroyed, which I'm always up for Ellsworth getting destroyed. It's just it's great.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Ellsworth getting destroyed when we talk about SmackDown here in a little bit.
Because they don't want the son.
Which, by the way, you said you did hear that they played the AJ Styles song at the Cowboys game, right? Cowboys-Redskins Thanksgiving game?
Yeah, that was I marked out when I heard that. I was like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. AJ getting love, man. I follow this guy for his career ever since he originally debuted in WWE and lost to Cena. And went on to TNA and his career there. Like to see this guy to be where he is now is, pardon the pun, but it's phenomenal. It's and I'm so glad that someone other than Vince McMahon within the company has taken notice in him. And well,
Hmm.
what I'm specifically referencing is, when he got signed on, he was supposed to take a squashed match against Ryback, allegedly. So I'm just glad that he's getting the love and attention that he deserves. He's phenomenal. He's great in the ring, and he has the ability to make people that he is in the ring with better. And that's the greatest quality that you can ever have in a superstar talent or wrestler.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I thought was cool about the Survivor Series main event, the actual Survivor Series match, was that if you look at it going back, the only people that were on the same page when you had two teams of five, the only people who were legit 100% on the same page were the Wyatts. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins were pretty close, but they had their own agendas going on and all that good stuff. But the Wyatts are a family, if you will. They're not the former Shield or anything like that. So I thought it was great that they won. And everybody who lost, it made sense why they lost. Made complete sense why they lost. So I thought it was good. The tag team match, the only thing I really liked was that the New Day got eliminated first because it made you think, all right, we got something fresh going on. The women's match was decent, which, by the way, you know that I outpointed you, right, on Survivor Series?
You did. Congratulations. You're catching up.
My first win. I needed it bad, losing on everything else.
Yeah,
So,
you
were there
catch.
any other final thoughts you had on Survivor Series?
The tag team match, I'm with you as far as the the New Day getting eliminated first. I thought that was a smart move. They don't really need the exposure or the attention. I love the fact that Fandango and Breezango were in the match. I hated the fact that they got eliminated so early.
Yep.
Did like the fact that what is the vacation guys? Welcome to Puerto Rico. The Colognes, or I forget what the name of their new team is.
Shining Stars? Yeah.
Shining Stars, the Shining Stars. I did love the fact that they stayed in for a good portion of the match, and they actually got to wrestle, which is really, really important. The women's tag team match, something about it bothered me. I didn't like the fact that Nia took a submission, and she tapped
Ugh.
out so quickly. I thought that was like terrible, terrible booking. I don't know why they would have. If you want to establish her as a dominant person, they should have pulled something closer to like an Ellsworth kind of thing, where she got a count out victory, or that they piled on her. Get something creative, but having her tap so soon, that just devalues her character. But I did like
Yeah.
the fact that after she tapped out, she immediately took somebody out and threw him on the barricade. So I did like that piece of it. But as far as the rest of the card, wasn't a big fan of the IC match. I'm still surprised that not Ziggs, but the the Miz retained.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the last thing that Sami Zayn needs is to keep getting buried, and I still don't understand that. Cruiserweight. We'll talk about 205, man. But
Ugh. Yeah.
I'm
Damn right we will.
yeah, I'm so disappointed in the way that this is being handled. Fan of 205 Live, but not a fan of how it was handled during the pay per view. So, but yeah, man, that's pretty much it, man. What I will say that is probably one of the best pay per views, but probably one of the best Survivor Series matches that I've seen in a very, very long time.
Yeah, I agree. I think overall, yeah, I guess overall it wasn't that bad. I can't complain. I think that it was, I'd give it an A. I mean, it was a solid show. Um, yeah, solid show overall. Solid show overall. Raw last week and SmackDown last week were pretty decent as well. I think that everyone knew it was like a go home card for Thanksgiving, so I think they took it easy a little bit for the most part. So Other than that, they're not bad. But we'll get to. Do you want to get into Raw this week?
Yeah, I definitely want to get into Raw.
So, what did you think about the Kevin Owens Chris Jericho thing that went through on Raw? Because last week it was nice because they pulled a swerve and said Roman Reigns at the same time. So this week, Owens told Jericho to shut up and stop talking about the list.
Yeah, I don't think they're faking the split up now. So, which I guess that makes sense. I mean, you got to have someone. I don't agree with Roman Reigns being the
Ugh, I
biggest
hate it.
contender. It doesn't even make sense why he's even a contender for the belt. But like, I want to see him defend the belt against somebody else. Like, he's got a title. He's pulling a freaking McGregor. Like, he's got the title. He's got people in that division that could fight him for the belt, and he chooses not to. Let's see a Neville. Let's see a Sami Zayn. Let's see. I don't know who else is on the roster right now offhand, but someone needs to challenge that guy for the belt. And it doesn't matter if it's
Anybody?
a face or a heel, but challenge him for the belt, man. The last time you fought was like almost a month ago against Rusev. Like, come
Yeah,
on, man.
yeah, I
Like,
agree.
seriously. So that part of it just kind of upsets me. I like the fact that Chris Jericho that they're teasing just Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens fight. It would be nice to see Chris Jericho win the belt, even if it's just for a month or a week or something, and giving it back to Kevin Owens. But I mean, he's doing some of his best work. You can't. I mean, arguably, he's probably one of the most entertaining pieces of that show. So I don't know why you wouldn't reward that kind of behavior.
Yeah, I agree. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Jericho's definitely going to turn face, and I've said this on previous broadcasts that it's inevitable. I think that Jericho versus Kevin Owens is going to be a placeholder to build up Kevin Owens for a little bit until he fights Finn Balor at WrestleMania. But we'll see. So, yeah, I thought it was decent. One thing I hated, like you just said, is that Roman Reigns won the U.S. champion, won clean over Kevin Owens, a guy who has beaten Seth Rollins, John Cena, a bunch of these guys, Sami Zayn, but he takes a spear from. It's just like the WWE really is just desperate to make Roman Reigns the guy, and it's like they let him calm down after the drug thing for a little bit, and now they're like, all right, all right, all right, all right. The fans, they're not going to boo him anymore. They're not going to boo him anymore. Now let's shove him down our throats again and make him double champion. And I don't know. I guess I'm just not into the guy that much. And he's not that bad. He really isn't. His matches are pretty good. He works his butt off, but it's just, I don't know. When you're being spoon fed somebody so much, you're kind of just like it just when you're being spoon fed somebody, you know, you know, you
That's
know.
right. Yeah.
When you're being spoon fed, you know what the outcome is going to be. And like I joke with everybody and say, worst case, bet on Reigns. Worst case, always bet Roman Reigns is going to win in something. So you just kind of know the outcome. So and maybe Kevin Owens beats him fair, and that's Kevin Owens' big push, and then he feuds with Jericho, and then he feuds with Finn Balor. I don't know, but that was probably the only thing I didn't like about Raw was Reigns winning. Because once they announced that if Reigns wins, he gets a title shot, I was like, oh, okay, well Reigns is going to win tonight, so I don't have to pay much attention, and I can get on to Monday Night Football or something else. So that was just my thoughts, man. I like Braun Strowman squashing R-Truth. Now, okay, so Cedric Alexander. Let me know if this was on the Hulu cut.
It wasn't.
Cedric Alexander fought. All right, next match. um, so Cedric Alexander fought Tony Nese, and thankfully, Tony Nese won. Gulak interfered, of course. So, and I like Tony Nese. I think he's awesome. Little Sandow is what I like to call him. I knew they'd cut that out. So Sasha Banks and Charlotte Flair started with the double count out, and then they fought later on. So Sasha won. So, what do you think?
Um, so I like the fact that they restarted the match. I thought that that was cool and made it interesting. The thing that I don't like, and it seems like this might be over, so maybe my complaint is mute, but I don't like the seesawing back and forth between Sasha and Charlotte with the damn belt. Like I
Yep.
don't, but I get it. Like you're trying to build a Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels feud that's going to last their entire career. Like I get that, but you're gonna end up having the Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens thing where yes, they put on great matches, match after match after match, but if your main event spot is relying on these two over and over and over again, like it's just like the third time that they've main evented an evening with the same thing. Like it's it's bothersome to me. I don't like it. I love the ladies. Both of them are great in the ring, great performers, great wrestlers. I love them. I'm hoping that they'll give other people a shot at the belt or other feuds. That's my hope.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think that the back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And what's sad is that I think they're still going to have one more match at the next Raw pay per view. So it's just a lot of back and forth on who's winning the title, who's losing it. We've said before, Charlotte's definitely going to tie or beat her dad's 15, 16, 17, 20,000 world title reigns.
Mhm.
But it feels like to me they're almost trying to rush that and not like rush her to get, to 10 title reigns. And they don't have to. Like Charlotte's going to be around 5 to 10 years, hopefully. Rush the title reigns. And it just makes me think, wow, every time it just makes me think the feud's going to keep going and going and going. It's like the Cesaro and Sheamus thing.
Mhm.
They fought twice. Sheamus won. Then they went to a best of 7. And I'm like, and that didn't even finish. And I'm like, oh. So, two talented girls. But I don't know. Is it because you think the WWE thinks that the rest of the you think they think that the rest of the girls aren't up to par with them two, either on the mic or in the ring to main event a show?
Women, but I I don't know if that's necessarily. Well, I mean, maybe. I mean, maybe you might be onto something. I can't foresee it being just a mic issue, but like Bailey could Bailey can main event an evening match, man. She's one of the best wrestlers that period over men or women. She's one of the best wrestlers on the active roster. I don't see how you can't put her in a match with like a Sasha Banks or Charlotte or even a Nia Jax. Like maybe not Nia in the main event. I don't think Nia's.
Well,
And I
let me correct myself.
let me just because I'm a Nia. I'm a big Nia fan, but the problem is that like they they build her up as a monster and then they make her lose in the most pathetic of ways, which which devalues her character, like I said earlier. Um, but if we had the NXT Nia Jax, then I think that we would have something. Like the crowd is generally into Nia Jax. The internet community is into Nia Jax. Just there's one piece missing, and they need to bring that ferocity and drop the damn elbow already, Nia. Come on, killing me.
Okay, let me ask you something. Is Nia Jax? You know how I call there's Neville and there's Black Neville, the Neville brothers. What if we start a new tag team and it's called Nia Strowman? Or would it be better as Braun Jax? Because they're pretty much the same thing.
I like Braun Jax.
Braun Jax is pretty good, right? So I was thinking
I like that.
Nia Jax is pretty much doing the same thing as Braun Strowman. With the exception of the Survivor Series loss. Pretty protected, and they're just the big bad person that takes out everybody. So they should team them up. Braun Jacks, Nia Strowman, team them up. They'd be unstoppable.
Make
Unstoppable.
make them a tag team.
Yeah. And Nia Jax is
Yeah,
big enough to take out dudes, like to interfere in the match. And Braun Strowman scares the girls in the women's matches and distracts them, so Nia Jax gets the pin. It'd be a good heel 1-2, wouldn't they?
I
Or
would
is that
subscribe to
stupid?
that, man. No, I like that, man. I know that the reason why they don't do intergender matches is because people freak out about violence
Mm-hmm.
in women, which I get, but it's wrestling, you know. Um, what what most people don't realize is that they wrestle each other when they're not on on the television screen. So,
Oh yeah.
and we're not gonna. It's not gonna be like a Kimberly where she gets knocked out by a guy in a power bomb in the middle of a gym. It's yeah. I mean,
Oh.
we've got to somehow desensitize ourselves from that because some of these women can legit wrestle the men, and it would be a great match either way. But
You know what? We got to put a link. We got to tweet out a link today of that match where that guy just power bombs the living daylights out of that poor girl. And then speaking of which,
that's
I
a lot.
yeah, it's a bit violent, and it's as violent as the link that I sent you this morning
Oh man.
of who's probably going to be the future tag team champs in NXT. Power bombing. What's their names again? The Enforcers. I've only seen them fight like twice.
Authors of Pain.
The Authors of Pain with Paul Ellering. That's right. Power bombing that poor jobber onto that other jobber's face. That's the most irresponsible thing I've ever seen in wrestling. That was you caught up in the moment and you powerbomb somebody. And now I will say the guy on the bottom, and these guys on the bottom, these jobbers, they're fighting for a WWE contract. They're just trying to get noticed. But when somebody's going to get powerbombed onto you or dropped onto you, I will say you should probably move out of the way a little bit if you see somebody getting dropped on your face or put a hand up. But he
I
had
don't think he
no
even had
chance.
time. Yeah, I don't even think he had
No,
time.
he got knocked out. He got knocked
Yeah,
out in that match. He's got a concussion. That guy's
yeah.
probably makes $200 a match, and he's just trying to be out there. And he got hurt by some irresponsible cats. So, I wasn't a fan of seeing it. Completely irresponsible. And if I get it, if accidents happen. I completely get that. Uh, it's kind of like well, so me and you talked about earlier that what happened with the Authors of Pain was just bad. You need to recognize who's on the floor and learn how to protect other people, guys, because Seth Rollins chunked a 50-year-old man in Sting into a turnbuckle and gave him for lack of a better term, a stinger. And then he threw Finn Balor into a guardrail, just chunked him, just threw him, expecting these guys to take a bump. Owen Hart dropped Steve Austin on his head on a move that he should have known how to protect Steve Austin for. So are we just being way too hard on the Authors of Pain?
I mean, that's what developmental is all about, right? Is to kind of iron out those kinks. But I just I don't understand how you mess that up. Like, unless you're not paying attention. Like that one just seemed like it just seemed like he wasn't paying attention to the
Irresponsible.
guy. Yeah, he was. I mean, he was way too far for the power bomb to begin with. Like he was literally 3 or 4 steps back when you should probably be about 1 or 2 steps back from someone. And honestly, man, you could have put him anywhere below the head. You could have even put him on the legs, and it would have still given you the same effect, and the dude would still probably been okay. But it's yeah. I mean, I don't think he maliciously meant to do it. It's just caught up, like you said, caught up in the moment, and they're gonna iron out those kinks. That's what the development's for.
Yeah, and we harp on the guy, but we don't know if backstage apologetic and all that stuff because we get caught up in the TV show, the character. But I could bet your ass Vince McMahon, when he sees stuff like that happen, or Triple H or any of the backstage guys, I bet you a million ways from Sunday they chew into those guys pretty harsh. Just like a football coach, if you drop a pass, just you got to expect to get chewed out, right?
That's right.
So
Unless you're my Cleveland Browns, you know. Well, we don't drop passes. We just don't defend.
yeah,
That's what
yeah.
that is.
Well, Terrell Pryor doesn't drop passes.
Yeah, Terrell Pryor does not drop passes, nor does he
Gary
throw
Barnard.
completions.
Gary Barnard, if you're listening to this, you're probably not, because you got a lot of money and better things. And you don't have better things to do, Gary Barnard. You should be listening to this podcast, because the reason you don't have better things to do is because you're not catching passes and scoring touchdowns like we think you should be. You're dropping passes. Your stats are down this year. But
you legitimately tanked my fantasy football league. Not to mention my morale, because y'all are my Browns. Y'all supposed to be taking care of business.
Yeah, Cleveland just won a championship in the NBA. Just went to the World Series, and the Browns are going to go 0-16. It's like they gave all their juju over to the other teams.
That's right.
Well, I'm okay because I'm a Dolphins fan. I was a winner of 6 straight, but I won't get started on my thoughts on Ryan Tannehill. But the rest of Raw was pretty good. We pretty much touched on everything with the back and forths, and then I'll kind of go into SmackDown here because we got to do our predictions, which, by the way, instead of trying to keep track of these things, I'm actually going to live tweet out our picks. Hopefully we can do it in enough characters for TLC this coming weekend, just so we got a solid record of it. SmackDown was pretty good. Can we agree SmackDown's just better? Is it because it's 2 hours?
But it's not. It's not, man. Although the whole talking smack coming on after 205 got me a little bothersome, but that's besides the point. What I will say is, in defense, this is probably one of the best Raws that I've seen, like this week, or I mean this, in the last 4 or 5 months, which is great. And I absolutely love the segment between Cesaro and
Sheamus at the bar.
At the bar.
How APA throwback. You talked about, you know what? If you want to get your daughter to the 90s, you need to let her watch some old APA promos where they're sitting at the bar and getting in bar fights. That was awesome. I really wish Cesaro would have maybe just put that Guinness to his mouth. He didn't really have to drink it. That was pretty obvious that this guy doesn't drink, or that he's on some super diet where he doesn't touch beer at all. But I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved that segment so much.
I do too, man. I remember in the old days when they used to go into bars and just beat people up, and that was fun, man. That's what makes it entertainment. It doesn't always have to be in the ring and competing against each other. Just be creative, and just as long as you don't do the whole bra and panty stuff, I'm signing on and I'm legit with that. So, but yeah, kudos to that, and kudos to that segment. I thought that was pretty amazing. So, but
especially because that wall he threw him through was real. That was a real wall, right?
Solid brick, son.
Yeah, he threw him through a solid.
He threw him so hard. Yeah, he threw him so hard. He landed in the next bar 2 streets over.
Yeah. Well, I liked that, and they broke glasses over each other's head. But it was cool because you could tell Sheamus and Cesaro don't get along or don't like each other, but they were talking about how they, over a drink, how they don't get along. So I thought that was cool. Good shout out.
Yeah, definitely.
And then SmackDown was way better. They had some filler matches, but I thought Carmella, she's pretty good on the mic. She's decent in the ring, but would you say she's better on the mic than she is in the ring?
Ooh.
And that's okay. That's not a bad thing.
It's not. She's definitely good on the mic. I think that I don't think other people I don't think there's writing staff or crew word for word from the script. Like, you could tell And I think that's the difference between Carmella. Like you could tell when she's having to recite something word for word versus when she has the outline and then she just goes with the outline and puts her own twang on it, which I absolutely love. And shout out to Carmella for controlling that crowd, yo. When they was shouting, "How you doing?" I would be a lot better if I was out of here. That's my
Yeah,
girl. That's my
yeah,
girl. Cool.
yes, that was good. She's good on the mic. She's good on the mic, decent in the ring, cute on the face, and I I like how I don't know. She's good, and she pushes that like Staten Island Jersey girl gimmick pretty well. I think she's good. I hope that she gets a bit better in the ring, but I mean she's got plenty of time. And if you're all right, let me ask you this: would you say if you're better on the mic, what will give you a longer career? Being better on the mic than you are in the ring, or being better in the ring than you are on the mic?
Oh man. Honestly, I think that being better on the mic and entertaining, um, not wrestling, would give you a longer career longevity than just being a great wrestler. And the reason why I say this, and I was talking to my brother earlier about this, and he and the rest of San Antonio is going to crucify me for saying this, but Shawn Michaels is not a great wrestler at all.
I'm out. What are you talking about?
Hear me out. He is not a great wrestler at all. You watch his matches, he's a spot monkey. He's not a great wrestler. People don't watch him because he's a great wrestler.
He's the GOAT.
No, he's not the GOAT at wrestling. He is the greatest entertainer of all time. Like his showmanship in the ring, is moving around and gyrating and then outside of the ring making the corny jokes and the dancing. That's what makes Shawn Michaels great. But he wasn't a great wrestler. He really wasn't. He's a great entertainer, and that overshadows his inability to wrestle. Now he wasn't the worst wrestler of all time.
Okay.
That
So
I'm not saying.
1 through 10.
Yeah, but I would say like from a wrestling standpoint, he's probably wrestles like a 7. So
Okay,
I
so
mean, it's not terrible. It's
yeah,
still
you're not
up
shitting
there.
on the guy. Okay.
But his entertainment factor is like a 20, which makes his wrestling like a 9. So
Okay. Would you say that's the same about The Rock? Because The Rock wasn't the best wrestler of all time.
Absolutely. Because if you think about it, he's really only got 5 or 6 moves. To be honest with you, you know, it's the Samoa, or was it the Samoan drop, the rock bottom, the people's elbow,
Crucifix DDT,
the crucifix DDT. Yeah, and that's it. You know, it's not wrestling, and he's got his strikes. There you go.
Yeah,
that's it. It doesn't make you a great wrestler, but from an entertainment factor, his entertainment factor was all the way to the 20s, and that's what people like. When they see The Rock and they hit that the moment his music hits, that's when the entertainment starts. And the moment that he hits the rock bottom, that's where the entertainment, stops. So it's a difference, man. Wrestling and entertainment is 2 different things. You know, people associate them together as the same, but I don't know. So I think that's how Carmella is, man. I think that her entertainment factor is way high up there. Her wrestling is not so great, but it kind of bounces out, gives her about a 6, a 4, a 5 or a 6 on the wrestling. So
yeah, good call. You know, I didn't think about that. So I like how you came back to earth on the Shawn Michaels comment. But I haven't heard that perspective before. I haven't heard that method before. So, but yeah, Carmella was good on Raw or on SmackDown. Sorry. So, what did you think of the Ambrose Asylum? Just give me your opinion on it completely.
I absolutely loved it. This is probably my second favorite segment of the night. I loved how AJ just inserted himself in there. And I'm about to mark out, but like I absolutely loved it when he inserted himself in there and he was trying to lay some truth on Ellsworth that, hey, this guy doesn't care about you, that he's just riding your tailcoats, which in reality he really is riding is Dean Ambrose is really Ryan Ellsworth's tailcoat. I mean, that's the only reason why he's relevant is because of Ellsworth's popularity and stuff like that. So I love that, and then I absolutely loved how he just shoved AJ, just shoved him and just gave him the beat down, and that Styles Clash stopped the world, son. Stopped the
Yeah.
world. It was amazing.
Yeah, I loved it too. I think, and you text me and said you're gonna mark out, and I was watching SmackDown on delay. But I was behind on SmackDown. I DVR'd it, and I remember you texting me saying you're gonna mark out, or did you just mark out, or something like that? I'm like, all right, let me see what this fool's talking about. Let me see what this dude's talking about. And I thought that you meant that Kane was fighting Luke Harper. When I read your text, I turned to SmackDown like, oh, let me see what he's talking about. Let me just go live before I watch it on DVR. And Kane was fighting Luke Harper, and I'm like, I guess I'm gonna mark out if Luke Harper wins, but I'm not. And yeah, I thought, and you know me, I've slowly become an Ellsworth guy, but seeing him take that chair shot, which was awesome, and the styles clash, I was like, God, that's what I needed to see. I needed, especially for the go home show, which we'll get into our predictions here in a bit again. For the go home show, I thought AJ looked. I think he's going to win this weekend. Spoiler alert for our go home show predictions. I thought he looked good, man. I thought that he needed something after coming off of, from the last pay per view, 3 losses to Ellsworth. I thought, yo, man, this guy needs something. Give him something, and he looked tough. And I'm not worried about AJ in an actual match because he could put on a great match and win a match with anybody. So I thought it was good, man. I think that the mini feud that'll take place between now and the Rumble might be AJ Styles versus James Ellsworth. Who knows? But yeah, I thought that segment was awesome, fun. If Dean Ambrose loses, then I don't know what's next for him, which I guess we could talk about next week to see if he wins or loses. But I really like SmackDown, man. I think part of it's because it's only 2 hours, so it's much more condensed and impactful, and there's not a lot of filler time. And I wouldn't say that necessarily the wrestlers are actually better, and I don't think they 100% have the better in-ring talent. I think it's fairly balanced, maybe 60-40 one day, 40-60 the next. But for some reason, I think it's got to be, right, because it's 2 hours, that they actually have just a better, faster paced, but better produced show.
Well, the presentation is great, but they're actually giving the wrestlers a chance to wrestle. That's the thing. Like, when was the last time that you saw a 5-minute match?
Oh, geez, I couldn't tell you.
Let me further amplify that for you. When was the last time you saw a 5-minute women's match? And this is coming from a brand that doesn't pride or parade itself as being top or having the top women talent on the roster.
When they opened with women on the contract segment, right?
Which was the best part of the entire show, in my opinion. But yeah, like that's what makes it so special. And honestly, there's only 30 minutes between the two brands because Talking Smack is an extension of Raw. I'm sorry, of SmackDown, which makes it even better. It makes it must see. So I honestly, I think that you're giving your talent a chance to shine, right? You've got about 5 or 6 matches, and out of those 5 or 6 matches on a weekly basis, maybe 3 of those matches or 3 of the competitors in the matches repeat every other week, and then the other 2 are for your other talent that you're cycling in and out. So, one week we'll get a Naomi versus Natty, and then another week we may get a Fandango versus the Head Shrinkers or something like that, and it makes it it makes it fresh. Like I like that. It's not the same program over and over again. You have your comedy spots here, but it's not overdone. And you're telling a great story. I remember in week 4, episode 4, when we were talking, you weren't a big fan of Ellsworth, and the thing that I told you was just they're trying to tell a story, man. Don't get hung up on AJ getting beat by this guy, because the payoff is going to be AJ beating the hell out of Ellsworth going into the upcoming weeks. And that's been one of the most entertaining segments, is seeing Ellsworth get his ass beat by AJ Styles.
Very
So
true.
you just kudos, man. It's not the same writing staff. I'm convinced it's not the same writing staff. I don't think Vince has his hands on this one as much as he has it on Raw, which is making this thing even better. Like I love it.
Oh yeah. So I thought the Wyatts were good. I mean, we all kind of saw them winning and getting the shot at TLC, which we'll get into our predictions in a second. But I want to get your thoughts on something that I didn't watch at all. That is apparently taped
Hold
right
on,
after.
hold on, man. Before we get into it, I got to get your opinion on the contract signing, man.
I thought it was decent. At least they let the girls talk for a bit.
Yeah,
Their put downs were pretty shitty, but uh, their their put downs were pretty scripted. Like I think Becky Lynch said something along the lines of, "You remind me of my crying niece who's 4" or something like that. So they weren't great because of who those two girls are, and I know they have more than that, but yeah, I kind of like that they let them do their thing for 10, 15 minutes.
yeah. I loved it, and I love the fact that Becky actually struck first on this one
Yeah,
here.
the face struck first. Because you know it's going to happen. Like you look at it and you're like, oh man, contract signing. Someone's going through a table. The heel's going to cheap shot first, and it was a
Yep.
switch. I did notice that, and I like that.
It was, again, it was something fresh and something new, and I love I love Alexa and how she fights, man. She fights like she's in the MMA, man. She's just, those strikes were coming quick. I was like,
Yeah,
damn. They were coming quick and hard, and stood her ground. Like, she was sturdy, man. And I love the fact that, like, her mic skills were actually on par. Like, I get
they are.
Becky's and stuff like that, but her mic skills were on par. And I've been saying this, and I keep telling everyone, and I don't understand. And I said this when I tweeted. I don't understand how you guys can put Charlotte above Alexa Bliss on the mic. I don't see it. Like, I don't understand it. Alexa is light years ahead of Charlotte on the mic.
Yeah, yeah. Charlotte's got the slow cadence and stuff like that, but yeah, I thought the segment was great. It was good for what it was worth. So you do have to fill me in. I didn't watch 205 live. Once I heard it was taped after SmackDown, I
Wasn't
thought,
taped.
oh, once it went live after SmackDown, I thought, all right, if I went to a SmackDown show and John Cena, oh man, just fought AJ Styles in the main event of SmackDown for the title or the not title, and it was a great back and forth match. And then somebody's like, all right, well, coming up next, we got TJ Perkins versus some guy I don't know. That to me is like, well, I guess I'll stick around for this. Which, by the way, for that, if you and I went to SmackDown and then had to watch 205 Live, they don't sell beer for 205 Live because it's already the end of the night. It's like the start of the fourth quarter for a football game or basketball game. They stop selling beer and the concession stands close down. So you see this really awesome main event of John Cena versus Dean Ambrose. Oh, what a close match. The match is over. And now you have two cruiserweights who are probably new, who you know nothing about. No concessions, no beer, no sodas. And then you're going down to the cruiserweights? I just don't get it, man. So I didn't watch 205. You'll have to spill the beans on what happened and how it was.
Yeah, certainly, man. And I've, when we talked about this in the previous one. The problem with the cruiserweights is that the venue in which they're putting them under, The venue that they're putting them under, it's way too big for them. And that was my biggest fear with them going to an all just their own show, that you put them in this big venue, people weren't going to be receptive, and that's exactly what you had. Your very first match that came out of that was the Bollywood Boys, and they did a good vignette on them, and I loved that because it was kind of similar to the CWC, but they did a vignette on them, and then they cut into the ring. They did their entrance, um, and you could just hear the crowd wasn't really into it, and it wasn't. And kudos to, and I gotta give a shout out to Mystic Zach at the PTA or the PTE show on Twitter. Um, so it the theme of the night was that, well, first off, it was the Bollywood Boys versus Gulak and your boy uh, Gulak and um, uh, Mini Sandow. I forgot his name for right now, but
Tony Nese.
Tony Nese. There you go, Tony Nese. And the match was amazing. The match was amazing in itself, but the crowd wasn't into it. And it was slowly the same thing. The next match they came out, it was Grand Metalik and forgive me, I can't remember who Tavari. Yeah, Tavari. Another great match, but the crowd wasn't into it. So I sent the message out, and asked, like, what's going on? Like, what the hell is up with the crowd? And I noticed that the shots were very, very tight. So I was like, man, please don't tell me that people were getting up and leaving. And Mystic Zach, he actually tweeted me a picture because he was actually there. And he says the reason why the crowd sounds so dead is because most of the people in the front rows, or not in the front rows, but near the hard camera where I guess a lot of the noise comes from, they were gone. And he sent out and I retweeted it, but he sent out a photo of it, and you could see a large portion of the crowd just took off and left. So that was surprising. But the thing that I liked about it is that they debuted Jack Gallagher, and I've been waiting for this guy for, like, I've been saying it week after week. Where the hell is Gallagher? Where the hell is Gallagher? And it was great. They put him in the ring. If you haven't seen Jack Gallagher wrestle, it's a treat. It's truly a treat. And you look at the guy and you're like, what's this? How's this guy? He's smaller than Neville. Like, why would I be interested in that? You actually see him wrestle, and it's so much fun. And I absolutely love it when he puts people in pretzels, man. It reminds me of that old 50s and 60s feel, where you just have that goofiness going on, and the kapow and the bang and all the other stuff. So the crowd was actually, that's when the crowd, like, woke up, and you heard the chants, and they were into it, and kudos to Gallagher, man. It's probably MVP of the night. And then it ended with a championship match with the Brian Kendrick versus Rich Swann. This match was amazing.
Wow.
This match was a pay-per-view style match. If you have not seen Rich Swann wrestle before, you need to go and watch this match. If you've seen Rich Swann wrestle before and you haven't seen him fight Finn Balor, you need to go back to that February episode of this year on NXT and go watch him wrestle, because that was amazing. And I'm just dreaming. Hopefully, we'll get a Finn Balor's Rich Swann 2 for that belt. That would be. I know it's not going to happen, but it would be amazing if we saw those two go at it for the cruiserweight belt.
So let me ask you something. Did any of them talk on the mic?
Yes, and okay. I agree with you. I've said it from the beginning. I don't think they should even be interviewed or talk on the mic, because it's not the style for the cruiserweights. But yeah, they talked on the mic, and even your boy Tony Nese just, like, kiboshed it. So the Bollywood Boys can talk on the mic.
Was TJ Perkins there?
No, he wasn't. He was there, but he didn't wrestle. And he even did have a segment, a behind-the-scenes segment, and it was a bit cringeworthy, just a bit, just to kind of play mind games with Kendrick, and it worked. But that was a bit cringeworthy. I mean, the only people who had a really good mic skills that were talking was Kendrick, Rich Swan, and the Bollywood Boys. So, but yeah, I would, like I said, man, if you're gonna base your decision on whether or not you want to watch the 205 live or not, I would say just watch the last two matches of the night. And if that's something that you're interested in, go and watch it. You still haven't seen Akira Tozawa, which has been officially signed. Thank you very much, and is on the Cruiserweight Classic. So it it was a treat, man. I enjoyed it. I will be watching that on a weekly basis.
So is the Cruiserweight Classic just another name for indie style wrestling, or are they truly doing a bunch of cruiserweight moves like the high flying stuff?
It's truly Cruiserweight, man. I think it's
Okay.
more closer to Lucha Underground in a sense, where
Okay.
you have just the different luchadors or the different Cruiserweight luchador styles all competing against each other. So, and then some of them could easily, contend for like the U.S. title or even the Intercontinental title if they wanted to, if they ever wanted to go that route. But yeah,
You're probably not. Okay. Well, I'll check it out. I'll check it out. They just don't have any entertainment value, and if they're going to rely solely on the wrestling, well, maybe that's why they're on the network, so they don't have to rely on advertisers and TV stuff. So maybe that's why they're on the network. Is you could watch yeah, you know what? It's so you could watch just like NXT, a show that's all about or more about wrestling and the in match quality. So
but you gotta get them in the dude. You gotta get them in the smaller crowd, man. You can't eh, you can't put them in a. I would rather them go right after NXT.
yes, yeah,
Right.
absolutely,
I would rather them go right behind NXT
and
than
it could be
go.
taped just like NXT.
Yeah, uh, I like the live aspect of it. I really do. I think it's better live, but for whatever reason that they don't want to do it live on NXT. Well, I understand why they don't want to do it live on NXT because then you'll have that. It's developmental, and you see that crap that you saw with the Authors of Pain.
Yes.
So I get why they're taped. It's are kind of above that because they're veterans. I mean, if you think about it, they really are veterans in the industry. They just don't have the mic stuff uh, to
Well,
them.
they should they could tape it and tape it instead of airing it live. You tape it before SmackDown because the crowd at that point just wants to see something and they're a little bit more hype towards something. So
I
and
agree.
you have a fuller arena if you say that 205 is starting, or maybe you won't. I don't know, but well, what we'll do is let's get into TLC predictions. So I'm going to tweet this
Yes.
out. And there's not many matches, only like 6 matches. So Callisto and Baron Corbin. Do you care about that match? Can we do we even need to talk about that match?
Um, I don't really care about it too much. I think that this will be the last match of their feud, and they'll go their separate ways. I am a bit conflicted on which way I would want to go because I could really see it. I really could see it either way. I'm probably going to take Kalisto, which I probably think that you're going to take Baron Corbin
Oh, absolutely.
on that.
So
Um,
Kalisto or Corbin is what I said about a couple episodes back. I asked you how quick will it be before Braun Strowman interferes with the cruiserweights, and I was wrong. I should have said Baron Corbin, another big guy.
yeah, but I think that was just incidental. I think that the only reason why they did that is so that the cruiserweights wouldn't go to quote unquote
SmackDown.
SmackDown. I don't think it had anything to do with other than that piece of it. Which, ironically, they're still on SmackDown. They're just not
On
playing.
SmackDown. Yeah. So you're going to go with Kalisto on that one. So,
So I'm gonna go.
okay, perfect. Nikki and Carmella.
Oh man, this one also has me a bit conflicted. So Nikki's definitely due for a win in this feud to kind of kibosh it. The only problem is that we still don't know who attacked Nikki to prevent her from to going to the Survivor Series. So I'm hoping that that mystery person shows up and interferes in this match, giving
Who do you think it'll
Carmella.
be?
I don't know, man. Like I can't. I don't know. I'm hoping it's someone coming up from NXT that we just are not aware of. Like it would be nice if it was like Ember Moon or or even
Billy Kay or
Asuka.
something.
Or
Yeah, yes.
yeah,
Up a bit.
yeah, or even Asuka is just even though it's not her style to sneak attack, but I would rather see Carmella win this one. I think it just means more for her. I think Nikki's just there to kind of put people over. So when matches, they'll have rubber matches, and then boom, that's it.
Yeah,
I don't think she has much miles left in the tank in terms
I
of.
don't either. Yeah, I think she'll put people over. So, you have Nikki in this one or Carmella?
I have Carmella to win this one.
Okay, I'm in the same boat. I got Carmella as well. Uh, Miz is in a ladder match with Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah, I was conflicted. There's a lot of conflictions today. So I am actually going to take Dolph Ziggler to win this one.
Hmm.
Mainly because I think the only reason why he dropped the title is because they needed a a heel to go against Sami Zayn. I don't think that the
At the
crowd would have
moment,
been
yeah.
into. Yeah, I don't think the crowd would have been into um, a Ziggler versus Sami Zayn match. And I don't think it would have been as entertaining as it was or wasn't, I should say. But um, the match was pretty decent. So yeah, I'm thinking the Miz is going to lose this one. I'm hoping that Daniel Bryan somehow gets involved because this is going to be the second straight week where we don't see them two directly enter or directly um, interacting with each other, which I thought it was kind of weird that Daniel Bryan wasn't even at the show.
Neither was Shane.
And yeah, neither was Shane, and they weren't even on SmackDown Live or
Well,
Talking Smack.
Shane was probably selling that injury that he had. No, actually, you know what? Was Shane on SmackDown? Didn't he comment that he got roughed up? No, no, that was last week. He
Yeah, that
wasn't on
was.
this week's SmackDown.
Yeah, he wasn't. He was on last week's SmackDown. We didn't even talk about that, but
Yeah, no, he mentioned he got roughed up, but yeah, he wasn't on this week's SmackDown. But I think Miz is going to win this one. I got Miz only because he's just hot fire, and there's more heat on him having the championship than him not. So that's one area you and I definitely disagree on that we'll have to watch out for. So I
so
think
the reason why I think that the mid or the Ziggler is going to win this one is because I think that with Baron Corbin losing, that'll elevate Baron Corbin to change targets and go after an actual title, which the IC title would be great around his waist. So him fighting Dolph Ziggler for the title would make more sense than him fighting The Miz.
so. Then who's Miz going to go after? Kalisto?
I think Miz is going to go for the world title, man. I think that
Ah, okay.
I think they'll edge him in, not immediately, but I think that they'll edge him in by elimination chamber to fight for the title. Whether he gets it or not, I don't know, but I think that he belongs in that area now, and I think that would be more of the biggest fu to Daniel Bryan is if he captures the world title.
And Miz could do some. You're right. And Miz could totally do some good work with Ellsworth, like promote him up and take some cheap losses due to Ellsworth. I think, and he'd do good work at putting Ellsworth over. So what else do we have? The tag team championship match. I don't know if that's a regular match or not. I don't think it's a ladders match or anything like that. But Heath Slater and Rhino versus the Orton family.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty safe to say the Ortons are winning the titles, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Orton. I still think it's too soon for Rhino and Red Dragon to lose the title, but they're not really doing anything with it. And then it makes more sense to put it on the Wyatts. They can carry it for a few months until WrestleMania, where they can feud with American Alpha for the titles.
Perfect. Yeah, I agree. Women's Championship, Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss. I
know
definitely have.
we're gonna be split on this one.
I don't think we are. I think Becky Lynch is going to retain because Raw has a shift in championship so much. Like the title's changing once a month at this point. I think Becky Lynch, if they keep the title on her, she looks like a stronger champion for a longer period of time. and I think that she will eventually lose it, but it might be to Asuka, who gets hopefully called up before WrestleMania. I think that she may lose it to an NXT call up because I think that the women's division on SmackDown needs another woman for, or if an NXT call up was going to come up, regardless of who it was, Ember Moon, Billie Kay, or Asuka. I really think that whoever gets called up next would benefit more on SmackDown, or I think it'll go on SmackDown versus Raw because I mean, Raw just got Bailey for crying out loud, you know.
Yeah, I still think that was a mistake. She should have went to SmackDown. Oh
True.
man, I'm actually, I actually think Alexa's gonna win this one, man.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Alexa's gonna win this one, and I know it's not the popular vote, but Alexa's been doing great things. I think she can be a strong champion as long as they don't make her to be like feeble, which she's not. Like she's not like Kevin Owens. I consider him to be a feeble champion because they always have him like
But Jericho helps him win all the
yeah,
time.
exactly. And or running away from challenges and stuff like that. But Alexa's she's got this chip on her shoulder all the time. She wants to fight to show that she's dominant, and I think that that can go a long way if they book it that way for her to to do it, man. I think you could do a lot. Like I would love to see her and Naomi go at it. Like I think that would be like amazing, and then her and Natty and her and Nikki, like it it
A
would
lot of
be
opportunity.
yeah, a lot of opportunity. I don't with Becky. I think that Becky is so far up there on her wrestling ability. It makes it kind of difficult for anyone to put on a decent match with her because she just runs circles around him like she's AJ Styles runs circles around John Cena.
I gotcha. Well, yeah, okay. Well, you take Alexa, I'll take Becky, and in the main event, AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose. I have AJ Styles retaining. There's no reason for him to lose it.
Yeah,
Not Dean Ambrose of all people.
same thing, man. I think that this will give feud to Dean Ambrose turning on, or I should say, Ellsworth costing Ambrose the match, and Ambrose eventually turning on Ellsworth
Going heel.
and going heel.
Well, then who would? Yeah, and I guess we'll figure out. I don't know if there'll be another face that fights AJ Styles, or if they'll turn AJ Styles face to fight a heel like The Miz, who you said could get a main event push because he has just a ton of heat behind him. So, real quick before we wrap up, I know you tweeted it out, but I'm just going to go ahead and veto it. Conor McGregor getting licensed in California. Does that mean anything at all?
Oh man! So
Granted, the fight would be in Nevada if he fights Mayweather, if there's a boxing match.
so I texted you this morning about this, and when I did, I felt that this is a clear sign that he's going to fight Mayweather. Like just just purely it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. But then as the day was going on, I was talking to some coworkers. You know, this might just seem like it's a power play. And now that I think about it, he's actually been entertaining the idea of actually showing up at WrestleMania and doing something. So between when he should be fighting Mayweather versus his WrestleMania appearance versus him having a baby, it would make more sense for him to do the WrestleMania thing. Probably is going to get paid more. Doesn't have to take any kind of crazy bumps.
Lighter
So
schedule, yeah.
a lighter schedule. So it's probably just noise, man. It is probably just noise. I would love to see him fight. Don't get me wrong. The money's there, which is definitely their motivator. But I don't think anything's going to come to fruition on it. I think it's just a power play.
No, me neither. I think, like you said, we talked with some people at lunch today, and if you can get licensed, I don't know how much it costs to get a license, but if it's 50, 100, 200, 300, $500 or a grand, that's nothing to Conor McGregor. He could have went on Twitter and said, "Hey, everybody, give me $1 so I could fund getting this stupid license." It's just a cheap tactic, and by cheap I mean inexpensive, to get the name out there. I don't think he's going to fight Mayweather. I don't think he'd stand a chance in a boxing ring against Mayweather. And I don't think he cares that much. Yes, he would train to win, of course, because he's a fighter. But it's more about especially with a family on the way, the baby on the way. If you could fight Mayweather and make probably $20 to $50 million, or you could fight Frankie Edgar, Rafael dos Anjos, Eddie Alvarez, Jose Aldo for like 500,000 to $1 million, you'd pick Mayweather in a heartbeat, even if you knew you were going to lose. It's not about if you lose, it's the story. And he wouldn't have anything to lose because he's going into he's an MMA fighter going into a boxing ring. So if he lost, he'd say, all right, cool, come to the octagon. Let's see how this really goes down, Mayweather. And of course, Mayweather would never step in the octagon, but he's got nothing to lose. If he's an MMA fighter losing in a boxing fight, he doesn't lose, but he gets paid. And then he goes on the tour of calling out people. Then he comes back to MMA and knocks a bunch of other dudes out. He doesn't lose any credibility by losing a boxing match to Mayweather, but he gains $20 to $50 million. I guarantee that.
But it also extends his unavailability to defend the damn belt.
And that adds to the story of when he comes back of there's an interim champion, or you can call it whatever you want. They're the champ. Interim or undisputed, whatever you want to call it. With Conor McGregor's mic skills, he's going to come back and say, "Oh, you aren't the champ. You're showing up. Thanks for fighting me." Even though somebody else is showing up with a title, he's saying, "Hey, thanks for fighting me. I appreciate you getting a title shot." And he could do that because he's got the mic skills to do that. So I think him taking a break from MMA isn't bad because he could promote so well, and he could talk the talk and walk the walk. But yeah, I'm glad we both agree. I don't think that him getting licensed to box means anything. Now, if he got licensed to box, no, him getting licensed doesn't mean anything. You can get licensed anywhere. Pretty sure me or you can get licensed.
So what do you think about this association that's put together for the fighters?
I think it's good for the fighters. I don't know what it's going to do. They're not going to get paid anymore. But I think they're not going to get paid anymore. But when it comes to fighter safety, when it comes, especially when you lose a match by getting knocked out, you're essentially getting concussed. I think it'll do a lot in the long term for fighter safety in regards to what injuries they're allowed to fight with, because a lot of these guys want to fight with injuries, and that's not good for the longevity of your career. So I think we could have fighters fighting a lot longer. I think that a lot of these guys don't understand one thing. And I think when they sign contracts with the UFC and for fights, they sign as independent people. And that when you're an independent outside of the octagon, when you're not on your contract, and these guys need to negotiate these contracts better, they're just taking a paycheck because it's got a lot of zeros on it. They need to fight to be able to say, hey, outside of fight week, I could wear, and they can, but they need to have more self-promotion capabilities because they are their own independent brand.
Yep. Just like the wrestlers.
GSP. Yeah, it's the same thing. These guys are their own independent brand, succumbing to somebody else's rules. And I understand, there's a lot of money the UFC throws at them, of course, and you want to make those guys happy. But hey, listen, if you are your own independent brand and you you go against what the UFC stands for at some point, but you keep bringing them money and you keep winning fights, I guarantee UFC will look, quite frankly, they'll look right over it. Like Brock Lesnar, the fight, he said, I drink Coors Light because Bud Light doesn't pay me, even though Bud Light was the sponsor. They would bring Brock Lesnar back, and they did several times because they look at the money and who wins fights.
Yep.
At the time. So if you just win and you bring them money, I don't think that they they care if you have your own sponsors out there. They'll give you a slap on the wrist or whatever. The Reebok deal is stupid. These fighters, the top fighters, make like 8 to 10 grand a fight
Yeah.
by wearing Reebok when they can go wear Under Armour or whatever other place they can get sponsored and probably make 20 to 50. What about you for the union?
Yeah, I definitely think it's good. And I've been saying it for years that wrestlers need to have the same exact thing, man, because it's a shame. These guys are independent contractors and they take all these crazy ass bumps and they get paid like crazy or
No
paid like
benefit.
crap. Like, yeah, with no benefits, which is the piece. They probably get paid great, but benefits aren't there, which I think is just utter garbage. And then they're ridiculed to like these ridiculous terms when they're independent contractors. They should be able to do and entertain other forms of avenue of revenues, and they're not. So for MMA, I'm glad that they're doing this, and and I know that GSP is going to be painted in a bad light. I get that, but honestly, it's about the fighters, right? If you don't protect the fighters, who else is? Because it's like the NFL. The rookies you sign these big old contract deals, but they don't have anyone there to protect them, to understand how to spend money and things like that. They're going to end up like how many of the football players in the heyday are. Like, they're flat broke, bankrupt, don't have anything to the name. They're just have nothing to show for the 1 or 2 years that they were in the
In their prime.
spotlight.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So kudos to them.
Yep, for good food for thought. So hope you guys enjoyed the show today. I think that was pretty much it, topics-wise, right? A little bit of a longer show today. Appreciate y'all listening. We had a lot to cover because we were gone for 2 weeks, near enough. So is there anything you wanted to touch on, or is that about it?
Yeah, that's about it, man. We'll sign off and stay tuned, guys, because we got some special interviews coming up. That's for sure.
Yeah, we have a fun December in January. Um, and plus, the more guests we have, Sage and I get to take some time off and
That's
go
right.
out and catch some drink on a Thursday night. Um, but no, we got some cool guests coming up. I know we have part 2 of the Everett Orion series coming up. We have another special guest that we're going to be kicking off here soon, which will be really interesting once we talk to her or him or her or they. Can't spoil it. Can't spoil it.
May not be a champion. We don't know.
Yeah. And then we're going to have Guru and Dobby on, giving their thoughts on UFC. If I remember right, it's a Ronda Rousey card, right? Especially since DC pulled out.
It is the Ronda Rousey card, and there will be plenty of debate of that crappy-ass ranking system that UFC has.
Yep. So we're going to have that. That's going to carry us over for a week, like a nice little special that we got going on. But in the meantime, Ben_Goose, and follow me on Twitter. I haven't been active on Twitch in a while because I keep forgetting, even though I play a ton of video games, especially on the weekend. Just got into Call of Duty, just beat the Zombies Easter egg last week. And I've been trying to get into hardcore and team deathmatch, play the online mode, but I do need to stream more. Sage, where can they follow you at?
It's Sage the Mark. Follow me at Sage the Mark on Twitter. Ben Goosen may not be streaming, but you know who is? Your boy is streaming that Final Fantasy 15 all day, every day long. Stay tuned. Always follow us on our website, IRWP.us. There you can find all our profile links. You can visit our Patreon campaign to support us if you like what you see in the content. Help our brothers out. And as always, make sure that you follow us on Twitter at RealWrestleCast or use that hashtag IRWP. Either way, we'll get it done for you. This is your boy signing out. And as always, love each other and just keep it real, guys.
Keep it real, gangster. To my
Seawalk,
gangster
son.
nation.
Seawalk, son. Seawalk, son. Seawalk. Good
All right,
night,
y'all.
guys.